Welcome to another Down the Rabbit Hole video. Happy Star Wars Day, everybody. May the 4th be with you. The last few years I've been showing my Star Wars vacations. All started way back in, I think, 2012 when we all went to Death Valley and I took pictures in and around where Star Wars was filmed. And then the following year I posted my video of our trip to Finsa, where Hoth was, and the Empire Strikes Back scenes were filmed. Last year, I showed off the images from our trip to the Redwoods in Humboldt County in Northern California, where we shot what we could of the Endor scenes from Return of the Jedi. So it seems only fitting that I round this out with the last of the Star Wars vacations we ever went on, and that is our trip to the Sarlacc Pit. Now this trip was going to be unique in that the Sarlacc Pit sequences were filmed in the Imperial Sand Dunes just outside of Yuma, Arizona, and I knew going into this, it's not like in the previous trips where we could line up rocks and formations and things, we can recreate the scene directly where it was shot. I told people that were going to be on this trip with me, look, I just need to get to some sand dunes. I mean, the sand is never going to look like it did in the original film. As long as we're close, it'll work. And what I'll do to make up for the lack of accuracy with background images is I'll bring along my Star Wars action figures and that little skiff vehicle I just did a video not too long ago about, and we'll recreate scenes in the sand nearby where it was originally filmed. So that was the plan. So the Imperial Sand Dunes, an ironic title actually, are northwest of Yuma, Arizona itself, and we got in the car, we headed that direction. I know from researching it that the actual filming of Jabba's sail barge and the Sarlacc Pit itself all took place in an area called Buttercup Valley, which is a sort of a flat depression area surrounded by sand dunes near the Imperial Sand Dune entrance. Now, I've looked it up on a map and it looks like it's pretty far into the interior of where the sand dunes are. So I was telling the folks that were on this trip with me, we're not going to be driving for miles into the middle of a desert trying to find some flat area. Don't worry about that. As long as we could get to Buttercup itself, and when we arrived there was in fact a ranger station, that's good enough for me. A good resource any Star Wars fan has used for any kind of trips like this in mind is StarWarsLocations.com. I've quoted them before as a good resource for me to be able to do, say for example, a trip to Death Valley. And on that site, there was always this one picture of the entrance to the Imperial Sand Dunes with a very distinctive flag showing on the website. And I thought, right, if a Star Wars fan has shown that to be where you are when you're close to the Sarlacc Pit, then I know we've arrived. And lo and behold, we saw what I thought was the same sign when we got there. Admittedly, now it says Welcome to Midway Campground, but the poles, the electrical poles in the background and various other things, you can see why I thought this was the same sign. So I figured, okay, you know what? We're there. We have arrived. It says Buttercup on the ranger station. I know where we are. And when I did my trip to Hoth and also to Endor, I struck a certain pose and I just thought, well, I got to round it out. I got to strike the same pose here. So looking around, we could see all these sand dunes rolling off for miles in every direction. We thought, okay, we have obviously arrived. I'm not going to drag everybody far deep into the desert to try and find Buttercup Valley itself. Let's take a little walk from the vehicle and take some snaps. Now, we parked the car just off to the side of the road and started up this hill. And I was trying to find a good location where we could take some pictures. It's also worth noting, we're not alone here. There are dune buggies driving around and people having a good time. And ironically, quite a few signs up saying, in case you notice suspicious activity, be certain to report it to the Rangers. And I just thought to myself, well, I got to get myself prepared here, all dressed up as Luke in order to do my bits with my Star Wars figures. So there I was, donned head to toe in black on a hot spring day in Yuma, Arizona, in the middle of a desert. and later on getting out a bunch of Star Wars figures. It did actually come up later on. There was somebody, I think, at the top of the dune, pulled up in a dune buggy and watched the group of us for a little while and thought, I don't know what this is. It is suspicious, but we never got in trouble, so that's fine by me. To give you an idea of roughly where we parked or what happened, I took the skiff out and showed, okay, here's where it's going to do, what we're going to do all of our shots. This is a nice area that nobody seems to be driving around in. Fresh dunes that we can film on. And if I flip the view the other direction, you can see there's the road. So we took a bit of a hike up here, but I thought this is enough sand in order for us to do the bits I want to do. So again, not getting interrupted by other people on dune buggies was the plan. And so we found this spot kind of near a power line that we thought, okay, nobody's going to drive near that. And we decided to get all set up. I started off by striking my Luke Skywalker pose and igniting my lightsaber. I've already talked about the skiff vehicle, and you probably saw there was a little rolled up piece of paper that I used in that video to represent the Sarlacc Pit. We took that as well. That was actually my best representation for the Sarlacc Pit that I could use. And what follows was basically an hour or two of trying to line up scenes you saw in the film with the appropriate action figures. My aunt was very kind to hold the vehicle as best she could, and those guys were very prone for falling off. She did a stellar job of keeping everything holding still while I got the camera out. I certainly wasn't going to allow all the figures to get all the fun, so I joined in a couple of times myself. Managed to evade Boba Fett's rope as best I could. We really had an enjoyable time, and obviously the weather was perfect. Never got interrupted by anybody. That was fantastic. When Lando himself fell into the Sarlacc Pit, we had to recreate that. A variety of great moments were to be shared. I did cheat a little bit. I decided to make the skiff vehicle also double as Jabba's sail barge itself for the droids. I mean, you can't do much back in those days. They didn't have the sail barge toy. I even got to the point where we managed to rescue the droids before we wrapped up all of our filming and completed for the day. And then by midday, the sun was beaten down pretty heavily and I was getting very hot in that black outfit. So we took one last snap of me with the figures, packed everything up, including the skiff, and headed on home, where I managed to cool off with a nice drink in the shade. And unfortunately, this is kind of the end of the Star Wars vacation videos. There aren't any more. There haven't been any. Because of travel restrictions, I don't know if there will be any in the future. So let's toast this one, the trip to Yuma, Arizona and the Sarlacc Pit, as what I would think to be the last of my Star Wars vacations. I hope you've enjoyed these. Happy Star Wars Day, everybody. And until next time, we'll see you down the rabbit hole.